The planet Varkalos was not a place for the weak. The skies were always dark, filled with red clouds and lightning that danced without warning. The ground shook often, and giant beasts roamed the forests, mountains, and caves. These were not normal animals. They had teeth like swords, eyes that glowed in the night, and skin so tough that even blasters could not break it. Many alien species had tried to study Varkalos. Most never returned. Those who did were silent, their eyes full of fear. The galaxy called it a Deathworld. Only fools or madmen ever stepped on its soil without a full army behind them. But something strange began to happen. The beasts of Varkalos, the monsters that ruled the land, started to run. Not from fire or bombs, not from ships or machines. They ran from something, someone walking calmly through the jungle. A group of alien scouts from the Threen Alliance had come to the planet for rare crystals. They were strong, well-trained, and armed with powerful gear. They had landed near the southern cliffs, a place filled with sharp rocks and poisonous winds. But the creatures there didn't attack. Instead, they ran. Huge, terrifying creatures ran like scared children. "This is not normal," said Torek, the lead scout. He watched through his visor as a Titan Tusker, something known to crush tanks, backed away and ran into the forest. "What is going on here?" They followed the trail left behind. The earth was torn from heavy steps. Trees were cut, not with weapons but with hands or something very sharp. They found deep claw marks on stone, but no signs of battle. Then they saw him, a human, alone. He stood on a rock, looking at the horizon. His armor was old, scratched, and clearly not from any advanced unit. It looked like it had been repaired many times. His helmet hung at his side. He had short, dark hair, a scar across his cheek, and eyes that looked tired but focused. "Do not move," Torek said into his cums. "He might be dangerous." The human turned slowly. He didn't raise a weapon. He didn't speak. He just looked at them. Torek felt a chill run through his body. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper, like the feeling you get when you know something is not right. "Who are you?" Torek asked, stepping forward. The human didn't answer. Instead, he pointed to the trees behind them. The scouts turned. At least 5 deathcrawlers stood there, beasts with long legs, spiked tails, and eyes that burned with rage. They growled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Torek reached for his blaster, but the human raised his hand, slowly, like he was telling the beasts to wait, and they did. The deathcrawlers stopped. They didn't move. They just stood there, watching the human. Then, one by one, they backed away. They walked into the trees, their growls fading into silence. Torek couldn't believe what he saw. "You control them?" One of the other scouts whispered. The human looked at him, then turned and started walking again. His steps were slow, but sure, like he had no fear of the land around him. Like he belonged to it. Torek didn't try to stop him. None of them did, after the human left. They checked their scanners. Nothing showed up. It was like he wasn't even there. They returned to their ship and sent a report to command. They included the footage of the beasts running and the human controlling them without words. The reply came fast. "Return to base. Do not engage. Observe only." "This man may be part of the Lost Project?" Torek didn't understand. "What project?" He began digging through old files. Most were locked. But he found something strange in a hidden folder. A name. Ethan. A human warrior from the last Void War. Listed as missing. "He can't be alive," Torek said, but deep inside, he knew the truth. That human was no ordinary soldier. He was a ghost, a legend. Now, he walked the Deathworld like it was home. After the scouts returned, the War Council watched the footage again and again. Many of them had lived through wars. They had seen humans fight. They respected them and feared them too. But what they saw now was different. This human was not using firepower, drones, or high-tech weapons. He didn't wear elite armor. And yet the deadliest beasts on the galaxy's most feared planet obeyed him. Some council members called it a trick. Others thought it was ancient tech hidden in his gear. But a few remained silent. They knew better. They remembered the name. Ethan Dot, once a young warrior during the final Void Swarm War. Ethan had led a unit called the Silence Team. They had fought in the worst places, places where even light didn't return. He had survived battles that no one else did. But after the war, he vanished. Some believed he died. Some believed he chose exile, but none thought he would show up again like this on a Deathworld, walking calmly among monsters. We need answers, said Admiral Thavik, a four-armed leader from the Beltran species. If that human controls Deathworld beasts, we must understand how. Send a stealth drone. Stay hidden, do not engage. The drone launched 2 hours later. It moved fast and silent across Varkalos, following the signal left by the scouts. Deep in the forest, it spotted the man again. Ethan sat beside a small stream, sharpening a blade made of bone. Beside him lay a huge beast, a rockhorn. The creature was sleeping, its head resting close to Ethan like a loyal pet. Normally, a rockhorn would crush any living thing without a second thought. But this one stayed calm. The drone zoomed in. Ethan raised his head slowly and looked straight at the drone. The machine froze. It was cloaked. It had no sound. No heat, no pulse. And yet, he saw it. Ethan stood up, the bone blade still in his hand. The rockhorn opened one eye and growled softly, then settled again when Ethan gave a small nod. He spoke, finally. Go home. His voice was quiet, but the drone's audio sensors picked it up clearly. This place is not yours. Then the screen. When Black Dot Command tried to reconnect the drone, but it was gone, not destroyed, not blocked, just gone. No signal, no trace, he warned us, said Admiral Thavik, and we didn't listen. The Council started to panic. Rumors spread quickly across nearby systems. Alien traders told stories of Varkalos beasts following a human-like soldiers. Children played games pretending to be the man who scared monsters. A young scholar named Illyra from the Knowledge Guild requested access to ancient records. She believed Ethan had gone through something deeper than training. Something spiritual. He doesn't control the beasts, she said to her mentor. He understands them. That's why they follow. The Council didn't agree. They believed in power, not peace. So they sent a team of elite hunters to capture Ethan. They wore the best armor. They carried shock rifles, sonic cannons, and net bombs. They flew in silently, landing near the northern caves, where last signals had been seen. Hours passed. Then a message arrived. Do not send more. The beasts are not your enemies. We warned you once. No voice, just text. Followed by a short video. It showed the elite team, unharmed but trapped, not by force, by choice. They sat beside the same rockhorn and 2 death crawlers. No one was hurt. No one tried to run. One soldier waved at the camera. He saved us. She said, we tried to take him down. We failed. Then a firestorm came. The beasts protected us. He told them to. The Council grew silent. They didn't understand. Why would Deathworld beasts protect their enemies? Why would they follow a human who never gave them commands? What kind of warrior had become something more than just a soldier? Illyra, the scholar, wrote one final note in her journal that night. The beasts of Varkalos know pain. They know loss. Ethan carries the same weight. He walks with them not as a master, but as one of their own. Far away, under the red sky of Varkalos, Ethan sat by a fire. His eyes were calm. But his mind was sharp. He knew the Council wouldn't stop. But neither would he, not while the beast still trusted him. Not while the land still called his name, Deep. Inside a hidden base on the edge of the Tyro galaxy, Admiral Thavik stood before the War Council with a serious face. Holoscreens showed the footage again. The human called Ethan sitting with beasts, saving soldiers and walking across Varkalos like a guardian. We must act now, said Thavik. If he gains full control of the Deathworld, he becomes a threat not just to us but to the order of the galaxy. A few members agreed, others stayed silent, and some, like Ambassador Yelna, shook their heads. He hasn't attacked us. He hasn't started any war, she said calmly. Maybe we should learn from him instead of fearing him. But fear had already taken root. Some worlds near Varkalos began locking their skies. Traders stopped passing by. People whispered of the Beast King, a human who could talk to monsters and walk through fire. Still, Ethan didn't speak to the galaxy. He stayed close to the wild lands, moving with the seasons. Every time a scout tried to follow him, their machines failed. If soldiers came close, the beast would block their path. Not fight, just block. Like guards protecting their own. One evening, as orange light fell across the forest, Ethan stood on a ridge. Below him, a large beast limped through broken trees. Its back was torn and smoke rose from its wounds. Ethan rushed down the hill. He knelt beside the beast, a skybreaker Volf, known for its speed and sharp wings. Its eyes were filled with pain. Ethan placed his hand gently on its head. "Who did this to you?" He whispered. From the sky, a hidden drone recorded the moment. But as soon as Ethan touched the Volf, the camera glitched. The feed turned to static. When the image returned, the drone was on the ground, its lens cracked. No sign of Ethan. Only the wind blowing leaves around the damaged machine. The next day, Alira, the young scholar, received the data file. It was anonymous, but the final days on Starbase 12 felt like a new dawn. Single quotes as Homeworld delegation was preparing to leave, but the changes they brought would last forever. The council had agreed to open talks for reform, inspired by the small but powerful gift, a simple glass flower that started it all. Liam stood beside Serani on the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly before them, like tiny sparks of hope in the dark. "It's strange," Liam said quietly. "How something so small could change so much." Serani smiled softly. "Sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest meaning." She turned to him, her eyes reflecting the light of distant suns. "Because of you, my people have begun to believe in a future where trust matters more than tradition." Liam shook his head. "It was your courage that made the difference." She took his hand gently. "And your kindness." The two stood, silently, feeling the weight of what they had started. Later, during the farewell ceremony, leaders from many worlds gathered. Serani spoke again, her voice steady and full of hope. "This starbase has shown us that openness can heal old wounds, that friendship can build new bridges. The gift I received was not just glass and light, it was a promise that we can grow, learn, and change together." Applause echoed through the hall. Some faces showed pride, others hope. Liam caught the eye of Commander Harrow, who gave him a small nod. After the ceremony, Liam was offered a new role as a cultural ambassador. He would help build relations between humans, Sherikai, and other species. It was unexpected, but he accepted, knowing this was a chance to keep the light of trust alive. I stood beside him. "Walk with me," she said. Together, they looked out at the galaxy. "No gift is too small," Serani said. "No act of kindness wasted," Liam smiled. "And no friendship too unlikely." Their story had started with a simple gift given without expectation, but received with an open heart. And that gift changed everything. He knew who sent it. The file showed an old report, one that had been deleted from most records. It spoke of the final days of the Void Swarm War. It mentioned the Silence Team and Ethan. They weren't just soldiers. They were part of a human experiment. Warriors trained not just in battle, but in survival on impossible worlds. They lived among storms, fire, ice, and poison. They adapted. They endured, and they changed. They began to feel the pain of the lands they walked on. They listened to silence. They moved with nature, not against it. When the war ended, most of them were gone. Only Ethan was left. Lyra read the last line of the file out loud. "Some warriors return home. Others become part of the world they swore to protect." Meanwhile, on Varkalos, Ethan stood at the edge of a wide canyon. Flames burned far below. The ground had cracked recently, and dark smoke poured out. A rumble shook the land. He knew what it meant. Something ancient was waking up. For years, the beasts of Varkalos had ruled this land. But even they had feared what slept beneath the stone. Now it stirred, and the planet cried out. Ethan looked up at the sky. Birds flew in strange patterns. Trees shook though no wind blew. He placed his palm on the earth. I hear you, he said, and I'll stand with you. Beasts gathered around him, silent, waiting, skybreakers, tuskers, crawlers, even a mountain stalker. A beast thought to be extinct. They didn't roar. They didn't growl. They bowed their heads. Deep under the ground. Something massive opened its eyes. The galaxy had forgotten it, but the planet hadn't. And now, with Ethan as its shield, Varkalos was ready to face the old terror once more. Deep beneath the broken land of Varkalos, the ancient creature stirred. Its eyes, glowing faint red, opened slowly. Centuries had passed since it last ruled the surface. It was called the Shadow Behemoth, a beast of destruction that could crush mountains and change the weather with its roar. The Deathworld beasts knew fear. Even the fiercest creatures fled from the Shadow Behemoth. It was the reason many species had avoided Varkalos for generations. But now it woke. Above ground, Ethan felt the tremors in his bones. He stood with the gathered beasts on the ridge, watching the cracks in the earth grow wider. This is no ordinary fight, Ethan said quietly. The Shadow Behemoth will not stop. It wants to destroy everything. The beasts growled low, but they stayed close to Ethan. They trusted him. They knew he had survived worse. The Galactic Council, watching from afar, debated what to do. Some wanted to send fleets to kill Ethan and claim Varkalos. Others hoped to learn from him, but no one dared approach. Ethan gathered the beasts. He walked through forests, over cliffs, and into caves. Wherever he went, the beasts followed. One day, a group of alien mercenaries tried to capture Ethan. They brought powerful weapons, hoping to claim the reward the council offered. But when they reached him, the beasts blocked the path. Not one, not two, dozens. Tuskers charged, skybreakers flew overhead, and deathcrawlers dug traps. The mercenaries fired their weapons. Blasts echoed through the forest. But the beasts did not stop. Ethan stood calmly in the middle of the chaos. He held up a hand. Stop! And the beasts listened. One mercenary, a Sharshi named Krell, raised his blaster again. Ethan stepped forward and caught it with one hand. This land is not for war, Ethan said. Leave now or become part of the earth. Krell lowered his weapon, eyes wide with fear and respect. The mercenaries retreated quickly. Ethan looked. To the sky, the Shadow Behemoth was rising. The ground shook harder. Trees snapped. Rivers changed course. The beasts gathered at Ethan's side, ready for battle. Ethan took a deep breath. This is the final fight. He began training the beasts, teaching them to work together. He showed them how to use the land to their advantage. The Tuskers broke walls, the skybreakers attacked from the air, and the crawlers dug tunnels for surprise attacks. His calm strength gave the beasts hope. One night, under the red moons, Ethan sat with Alira's datapad. She had sent messages filled with questions and old stories. He read the words again. You are not alone, she wrote. Many believe you walk between worlds, neither fully human nor beast, but something new. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe she was right. The next day, he climbed to the highest peak on Varkalos. Below, the Shadow Behemoth emerged, a giant covered in scales and spikes. With eyes like burning coals. The battle began. Ethan moved like the wind, leading the beasts. The skybreakers dove at the behemoth's eyes, blinding it. The Tuskers charged its legs, trying to bring it down, but the creature fought back. Its roar shattered rocks. Its tail smashed trees. Ethan leapt, striking at a weak spot beneath its thick armor. The beast roared in pain. The fight lasted days. The land was torn apart. But Ethan never gave up. Finally, with one last blow from a Tusker's tusk and Ethan's blade, the Shadow Behemoth fell, crashing to the ground with a thunderous roar. Silence returned. The beasts surrounded Ethan, their leader and friend. Far above, the Galactic Council watched. Surprised and humbled. Ethan looked at the broken land, then at his loyal beasts. He had saved Varka lost. But he knew the galaxy had many more battles ahead, and he would be ready. After the battle with the Shadow Behemoth, Varkalos was quiet again, but things were changing fast. The beasts who once fought each other now stood united under Ethan's calm command. The forests, mountains, and rivers began to heal slowly, but the Galactic Council was still uneasy. They had seen what Ethan could do. A human who walked with Deathworld beasts, who tamed the wildest creatures without weapons, was a power unlike any other. Ambassador Yelna spoke at a council meeting. We should send a delegation, learn from Ethan. Maybe he holds the key to peace between species. Admiral Thavik disagreed. He could become a threat. We cannot trust a human who answers only to beasts. We must prepare our fleets. The debate went on for days, but in the end, the council sent a small team of diplomats and scientists. Their ship landed near Ethan's camp, and the beasts watched closely. The leader of the delegation was a wise elder named Corin. He stepped out, carefully showing no weapons. Ethan watched from a distance. He did not trust the visitors, but he understood the importance of their arrival. Corin spoke first. Ethan, we come not to fight, but to listen. Your actions have saved Varkalos. We want to understand. Ethan nodded slowly and lowered his guard. Over days, the delegation learned from Ethan and the beasts. They saw how he cared for the land, how he listened to the creatures, and how he fought only when needed. Corin asked, how do you tame such dangerous beasts without weapons? Ethan smiled. I don't tame, I respect. They follow because I walk with them, not above them. The scientists took samples of the plants and soil. They studied the behavior of the beasts. Illyra sent more data about Ethan's past, the Silence Team, and the human experiments. One scientist, a young woman named Liara, was amazed. He is more than a warrior. He is a bridge between worlds. But not everyone was happy. Some in the delegation secretly sent messages back to the council, warning that Ethan's power was growing too fast. One night, Ethan sat alone by the fire. Corin joined him quietly. There are those who fear you, Corin said. They see your strength as danger. Ethan looked up. I do not want war. But if they come with weapons, the beasts and I will defend this land. Corin nodded. Then we must prepare a plan for peace. The days passed and the new alliance between Ethan, the beasts, and the council's delegation began to grow. But beyond Varkalos, dark forces watched. Old enemies who had lost to humans before were gathering fleets. They saw Ethan not as a hero, but as a threat. One warlord, known only as the Shadow King, sent a message. The Deathworld will burn again. Ethan sensed the danger. He called the beasts together. We will protect this land, he said. But we must be ready for the fight ahead. The Skybreakers circled high. The Tuskers stomped the ground. The Deathcrawlers dug deep tunnels. RKA Loss was no longer just a Deathworld. It was a fortress. And Ethan was its guardian. The days grew darker on Varkalos as the Shadow King's fleets moved closer. Ethan and the beasts prepared quietly, but with fierce determination. They knew this battle would test everything they had built. Ethan stood at the edge of a great cliff, watching the red sky turn black. The beasts gathered below. Skybreakers stretched their wings. Tuskers cracked their massive tusks, and Deathcrawlers sharpened their claws. He turned to the beasts and spoke with calm strength. We defend our home. We fight not for war, but for life. The beasts responded with low roars and growls, ready to follow their leader. Far away, the Shadow King's ships darkened the stars. His warriors were fierce, trained in war and destruction. They believed no Deathworld beast or human could stop them. The first attack came suddenly. Ships fired plasma blasts that lit the sky. Ground forces landed with heavy machines, designed to crush everything. But Ethan was ready. He moved through the battlefield with speed and skill, leading the beasts in a dance of war. Skybreakers swooped down, tearing at enemy sensors and blinding their pilots. Tuskers charged, smashing machines and scattering troops. Deathcrawlers dug beneath the ground, creating traps and surprise attacks. Ethan fought alongside them, his blade cutting through dangers, his calm eyes never leaving the path. The battle was fierce and long. Many times, Ethan faced the Shadow King's warriors alone, fighting to protect his beasts and land, but the beasts never left his side. They moved as one. Slowly, the tide turned. The enemy's machines were broken. Their forces scattered. Finally, the Shadow King himself arrived on the battlefield. He was tall, armored in black, with eyes burning like fire. He challenged Ethan. "Human," he said, "you have no place here. This death world will fall." Ethan replied calmly, "This is my home, and I will protect it." Their fight shook the land. Steel clashed, sparks flew. The beasts watched silently, knowing their leader's strength. Ethan fought not just with weapons, but with heart. He remembered every battle, every loss, every lesson from the Silence Team. With one final strike, Ethan disarmed the Shadow King. The warlord fell to his knees, defeated. Ethan stood over him, offering mercy. "Leave this world," Ethan said, "and do not return." The Shadow King bowed his head and disappeared into the shadows. The battle was over. Chaos was safe. The beasts roared in victory, and Ethan smiled softly. He knew peace would not last forever, but for now, the death world was home again. The battle was over, but the echoes of war still lingered in the air. Varkalos slowly began to heal, the scars of the fight fading with time. The beasts moved freely once more, no longer hiding in fear or anger. Ethan stood on a hill overlooking the land he had fought so hard to protect. The sun rose slowly, casting warm light over the forests and mountains. The air was calm, but his heart was restless. The Galactic Council sent a message through the delegation. They offered Ethan a place among their leaders, to share his knowledge, to help bring peace across the galaxy. But Ethan shook his head. "My place is here," he said softly. "With the beasts, with the land." The beasts gathered around him, their trust clear in their eyes. They were more than creatures. They were his family now. Lia, the young scholar, stood nearby. "Your story will be told for generations," she said. "You have changed the galaxy's view of humans and death worlds." Ethan smiled faintly. "I only walked the path I was given. The beasts taught me strength, patience, and respect." Life on Varkalos settled into a new rhythm. Ethan continued to walk among the beasts, learning and protecting. Alien traders and explorers began to visit again, but with respect and caution. Children of many species grew up hearing the tale of the human warrior who walked with Deathworld beasts. Songs and stories spread, celebrating the man who could tame monsters without force. One evening, as Ethan sat by the fire, a small group of young beasts approached. They were curious and brave. Ethan reached out his hand and one stepped forward, nuzzling gently. He laughed softly. "The future is in good?" Pause, but Ethan knew his journey was not over. The galaxy was wide and full of dangers. There were other death worlds, other threats, yet Varkalos was home. And here, the human warrior had found something no war or battle could give, peace. As the stars shone above, Ethan looked up and whispered, "I will protect this world, and all who live in it, for as long as I breathe." And with that promise, the legend of Ethan, the human who even Deathworld beasts ran from and followed, was sealed forever.